Hello, this is your host, Debra Poneman, and I'd like to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Betty Russell. As a former news anchor and health writer, Betty started exploring alternative healing methods to help her own family cope with their chronic health issues. In the process, she found the emotional freedom techniques, also known as EFT. She experienced firsthand how quickly this technology could erase extremely difficult and painful emotions, as well as change virtually every area of one's life, from finances to relationships, and was inspired to become certified in EFT herself. Betty's mission is now to help other people feel the very same freedom that they may have believed was just outside their reach until now. During this interview, you'll discover that you don't have to struggle to have what you want. Also, how to free yourself from worry, fear, anxiety, shame, and other toxic emotions. The last thing you can do right now to feel happy and free. A scientifically proven technique that can help you change your life effortlessly. And finally, that it is possible for you to live a phenomenal life. So, Betty, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the call.
Thank you so much, Debra. I really appreciate you having me here today. I'm really excited to share this with your listeners.
And we are excited to have you share it with us as well. And what I would love for you to do is just take 2 or 3 minutes and tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Well, you mentioned in the intro that I started looking at alternative healing techniques to help my family with chronic health issues, and that's actually true. But my story actually starts a little bit before that. When I was a television news anchor, I started having panic attacks while I was on the air. So as a host of a telesummit series, you can imagine how difficult it is when you're having panic attacks while you are on the air. Now, people didn't really know what was happening. They thought, oh, I must have run to the set at the last minute, and I was just a little bit out of breath. But I was having full-blown panic attacks while I was on the air, and I just didn't know what to do about it. I tried exercise. I tried different relaxation techniques. I just couldn't solve that problem. They would come unexpectedly. I would have no stress that I knew of at the moment, and suddenly, wham, there would be a panic attack. So I finally asked to be taken off the air because I just didn't know how to stop them. So though I only had panic attacks while I was on the air, however, I did have anxiety throughout my life at different times. It's often difficult to cope with anxiety when you're kind of prone to it, which is what I was. So then if we fast forward to my daughter's chronic illnesses, when I started looking at the holistic techniques, I discovered emotional freedom techniques at that time. She was probably 14 or 15 years old, so she really wasn't interested in holistic techniques, and she certainly wasn't interested in EFT. I'll explain what that is in a minute. But for me, it was something that I had been waiting for my whole life. So let me just take a second to explain what EFT is. It's a meridian energy technique. It combines exposure therapy, so you focus on your discomfort, cognitive therapy, you think about your discomfort in new ways, and acupressure or acupuncture points on the body. So we're actually tapping on acupressure points while we're verbally saying things that acknowledge our problem and the new way that we want to feel. So some issues resolve in a single session with the EFT, while others might take multiple sessions. So the reason I loved this is that not only did it reduce stress and anxiety in minutes, but I also found that you could use it to improve nearly every area of your life by changing limiting beliefs and negative programming that really get in the way and make it difficult, if not impossible, to live the life you want. So for me, EFT was a lifeline that I wished I had had 20 years previously. So I'm so excited today to be able to share that technique with other people.
Well, I love that because so many people have greater or lesser degrees of anxiety and anxiety attacks. So here's this one technique that if just that were solved by this technique. That would be fantastic, and so much more. So, all right. Well, I'm going to start out by asking you some questions about life in general, because I know that EFT helps with worry and fear and anxiety and shame and other emotions that can be debilitating. But how does it actually get rid of them?
Well, EFT is like some other medical therapies that we don't know exactly how EFT works. What we do know is that it appears that when we tap on our acupressure points, when we're acknowledging this problem and really focusing in on our feelings, that it seems to send calming signals through the body that reduce the intensity of negative memories, difficult beliefs, or uncomfortable feelings. There is some research that gives us a little bit of a glimpse into what EFT does, and research was really important to me as a health writer when I was looking for an alternative therapy. So I really spent a lot of time looking at the research. And what research has shown is that when people tap, there's a great reduction in the level of the hormone cortisol, which is a stress hormone that's released when we experience stress. And some scientists theorize that tapping interrupts the body's fight or flight response. That's, of course, the biological mechanism that kicks in when we think our survival is threatened. Well, that may have been important when we were out in the woods foraging for food, but a lot of the things that cause us stress today aren't really about survival, but we perceive them and our bodies perceive them that way. So the tapping interrupts those conditioned responses, that conditioned fight or flight response. And then now they've even found that we thought that the brain pathways were fixed. We thought you were just stuck with the way things were and that there wasn't anything you can do to change them. Now the big buzzword is neuroplasticity, and everybody knows that or believes that we can change things about our brain, and including the pathways that sort of trigger when we experience something. So instead of having a conditioned response every time we see a snake, for example, if we have a snake phobia, we can use EFT and we can interrupt that pattern. So the body is just not going to naturally react in a negative and stressed way when you see a snake if you have that phobia. Now, you may not have a snake phobia, but what you may have is this response that happens when you get upset about a fight with your spouse, or limiting beliefs come up that you learned as a child that, you know, you're not good enough at this particular task, or you don't deserve something. All of those are similar things in our subconscious mind that are conditioned responses that we have, and tapping can interrupt those and change how we respond to those. So it doesn't make memories go away, but what it does is it neutralizes the feelings that we have about them. And when I mentioned studies, there have been studies on a lot of EFT for different types of problems, like, for example, test anxiety. They've shown that it reduces test anxiety. It improves free throw shooting or golf scores or anxiety in general. But the study that really had a big impact on me is the study that they did with veterans who suffer with post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. And they did a study with veterans having 6 one-hour sessions with EFT coaches. And these people were very damaged and very hurt by their experiences in the war. I interviewed one of them for a story I was writing for a column that I write, and the things that he described were horrendous. The effect they had on his life, you can't even imagine. He was on many, many medications. He was divorced. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't hold a job. He was literally crippled by these memories, by this post-traumatic stress disorder. He had 6 one-hour sessions with a tapping coach, and he learned tapping on his own, and he continues tapping on his own as a health practice or a mental health practice, or both, actually. And after 6 sessions, 86% of the veterans studied did not meet the criteria for PTSD anymore. 6 months later, the results were the same. The benefit that they achieved remained intact even 6 months later.
That is phenomenal. The stress and anxiety that we have in our daily life, it can't even come close to that. And if it could get that kind of results with these soldiers who have PTSD, obviously fear, worry, anxiety, all of those things, we can tap on them.
Yes, we can. We can tap on them. And that was exactly the way I looked at it, Deborah. I thought, if it can do that for somebody who is suffering that much, and mind you, these were people who had been treated with traditional medicine, with the medications and the different types of things that they try to do with PTSD, but it's just a very difficult thing to treat. It's just very hard to get soldiers to the other side of this and to live a normal and healthy life. And EFT is like a lifeline to many of these people.
Wow,
and it's a lifeline to anybody who learns how to use it. That's the way I look at it.
Totally, but we should talk about how you all should get it in the VA hospitals, but that's a discussion for another day.
But
true. I have one question, backing up to phobias like snakes or height. When you have a phobia, like I have a big snake thing, it's funny you should mention it, and do you tap at the moment? Like, let's say I was on a hike and I see a snake. Do you tap at that moment, or is it something that you do outside of the moment so that then when you see the snake, the feeling has already been neutralized?
That would be the best way to do it. I mean, if you hadn't done it and you saw a snake, it might be a good thing to try. But if you had a chance and you knew you were going hiking, I would suggest that you do it ahead of time. And a water phobia is one of the things that launched this whole meridian technique movement. It was started by a man who started with thought field therapy, and he had been working for years with a woman who had a water phobia. And when he finally decided to start tapping on, I can't remember which point it was, I think it was under the eye, and it related to a physical symptom that she had, her water phobia went away. And people followed up with her years later, and it was still gone. And so, yes, if you have a snake phobia, first I would start tapping on that phobia when you're not near a snake, and you can just start with what you feel. Think about a snake being there, what you feel. Tap on the physical sensations you feel, if you feel a pit in your stomach or, constriction in your chest, or just racing thoughts or shortness of breath, all those things that might come when you have this extreme phobia. You tap on all of those things and keep tapping, and then you can actually see if you've made some progress by showing yourself a picture of a snake or bringing in, a toy snake and seeing how you respond to that. And then you could even, if you were serious about it, you could even go to a pet store and see how you did before you ever had to face it out in the wild.
Mm-hmm. Good. I love that. That's excellent advice, and I'm going to do it. And I can't wait till I know you're going to give us a demonstration during this interview, so I can't wait. Another way that I know this is used, so many of us have subconscious blocks to the things that we want, and I understand that you can even tap away those blocks to the things that you want in life. Is this true?
It is. And that is one of the beauties of EFT, in my view, is that, a lot of us have this idea based on law of attraction and other success programs that we're only supposed to focus on the positive. And I understand why that's said, because really we don't want to wallow in the negative. And I know exactly what they mean by that, but we do have to face what's there. We don't want to create negativity, but when the negativity is already there, if we can get rid of that, and we can get rid of it with EFT, that's when amazing things start to happen. So people might wonder, what do you mean by subconscious beliefs? Well, I talk about how babies and children come into the world. You see them and how happy they are and how joyous they are, unless they're hungry or something like that. But they really don't compare themselves. They don't worry about their outfit, how much money is in the family bank account. They're just happy, and they're not comparing themselves in any way that's negative. Then life happens, which happens to all of us. And it starts with somebody telling you you can't do something, or saying something harshly, or ridiculing you, a bullying situation, or people liking your play date person better than you, all these little hurts that happen. And they're stored in our subconscious mind, and they're there guiding us they think they're protecting us, like, oh, let's avoid this situation because I'm really not good at this, because I heard that when I was 5. But the truth is that they're often not true. They're often things that really we shouldn't have given the weight that we did, but we didn't know any better at the time. We didn't know Dad was just mad and he didn't really mean that I would never amount to anything. We just took things verbatim. And those things have a huge impact on so many areas today. When I tap with people, I'm not surprised anymore, but I used to be really surprised at how we would start on one subject and end up with something that started in childhood that you might not have even known was connected to it. So instead of ignoring those issues that are controlling and leading our lives in ways that probably don't serve us the way we want, I'm talking the negative programming. Of course, we have healthy programming, and that's great. But the negative programming, those are things that hold us back and keep us from being our best selves, keep us from having confidence, keep us from reaching for the stars, so to speak. And those are the things that we really can tap on and get rid of them. And so those things that we really want to have in our lives or achieve in our lives are much easier. They happen much more effortlessly when we get rid of those subconscious blocks.
So what I'm understanding from this is that you might start tapping on, I'm mad at my boyfriend because he didn't call to say that he was going to be late. And the next thing you know, you could be clearing something from your childhood where you were waiting for your father who never came to pick you up to take you to the circus.
That's absolutely it. That's it in a nutshell. And the interesting thing about that is people don't even know that that's part of their anger in that situation or the reason why that bothers them. Somebody else would have that happen and it wouldn't bother them at all. They wouldn't care that the call didn't come in. They'd just be going on their merry way because they didn't have that early episode that sort of set them up to respond in a certain way.
Yes. Okay, so is there something that we can do right now to feel better and happier?
One of the things that you probably think I'm going to say tap, and that is part of the answer, but one of the things that I think is really, really important, and I think you might agree with this, Debra, is we tend to spend so much time focusing on the past, like worried about things that happened or ashamed of things that happened or angry or upset or planning for the future. We're wanting the wonderful house or the great spouse, the wonderful family, and we spend very little time on today. We just really get up in the morning, we rush to work, we do what we're doing, and we're not spending that much time thinking about how we feel that day. We sort of just assume that we have to feel the way we do feel. So if we get in the car and we're driving in rush hour traffic every day and we're upset and angry and frustrated, we just say, oh, well, that's the way it is. Or if we go to work and we don't like our job or our boss is mean, all of these little things that happen along the day that we don't feel good, we just assume that we have to feel that way. And because that whatever happens, it's just the way it is. It's like the tyrant is driving the bus here. You know, the emotions just come and we have no control over them. So I think the most important thing you can do to feel better right this minute is to say, I'm not going to feel bad about something I don't want to feel bad about. There may be something you want to feel bad about. If you have suffered a loss or something else comes up, you don't have to get rid of all your negative feelings instantly just because you learn how to tap. But if you have a negative feeling and you don't want to feel it, then say, I'm not going to feel this. I'm just not going to feel this way today. I want to feel happy. I want to feel good. And if I can't let this go easily by just shifting focus, which sometimes that works, sometimes just a simple thing like you're driving in traffic and saying, well, you know what, I'm grateful I have a job, so I'm going to just feel more positive about this right now. Sometimes that's all you need. But if you really have a lot of stress building up or you have a thing that happens over and over again, so by this time you have a conditioned response to it, just tap on it and say, you know what, I'm just not settling for feeling this way. That's all there is to it.
Can you tap while you're driving a car?
You can. And you know what? You wouldn't believe how many people do. Now, what you have to do for yourself is find out what points you feel safe tapping on when you're driving. I primarily tap on the collarbone point when I drive, just because it's one point and it's my favorite point. You'll find if you get used to tapping that often one point just gives you more relief than other points. For some reason, everyone has a little bit different, but mine's the collarbone, so I always tap there. But you can tap because you tap with one hand, so you can drive and kind of keep the car going. And also you can even tap on the karate chop point just on the steering wheel. So people tap in the car all the time because it's a place where they are alone with their thoughts. They have time that they are just wasting driving from one spot to another, and they don't have to worry about their family members listening in or wondering what they're doing. So a lot of people do tap in the car. But if you do that, please do it in a safe way.
Yes, that would be good. Now, can tapping also help people to manifest things in their lives?
Now, you would probably think that it wouldn't because you're thinking, well, it's just for emotions. It's called emotional freedom technique. But I think it's the key to manifestation, honestly. I consider it the real secret or the secret behind the secret because I do believe that we attract what we focus on in our lives. But the difference in what I believe and what I think tapping can help people with is, let's say you want to achieve a goal and whatever it is. Let's say you want to earn more money or you want to bring more money in your life. If you write an affirmation, and even if you say that affirmation out loud 100 times a day, or you do it for 10 minutes straight in the morning and at night, think of how many other thoughts go through your mind every day that are just the conditioned responses that you have to things. So the problem when you just say a few affirmations about something you want is you're not addressing what has kept you from having it already. If you really were free and open to having more money, you might have it, or you probably would have it. If you don't have it, it might be because you don't think you deserve it. You think rich people are greedy. Your parents didn't have a lot of money, and you don't want to make them feel bad if you have more money than they had. There's all kinds of reasons that might be behind the reason you don't have money. And if you just say an affirmation and don't address all the underlying things, I don't think you're going to get that affirmation answered. Because in my view, I think it's the sum total of everything we think, feel, and do. So if we really inside have some deep-seated emotions about money and having money and what that means, and they're not positive, that's going to win. Even if we say 100 or 200 or 300 affirmations a day, no matter how many affirmations you say, or if you have a vision board, no matter how much you look at that or say affirmations, it's really a drop in the bucket compared to your day. You're not going to spend 8 hours doing that. And so all these other things, they're running the show. And you want to stop them from doing that. And the way you do that is you say an affirmation or you write down an affirmation and you say, now, what comes up when I say that? What are the yes buts? We call them yes buts or tail enders in EFT. So, yes, I want to have all this money, but I don't deserve it. But my parents will be upset. But maybe people will think I'm greedy. And those are the things you tap on. You tap on the fact that some part of me thinks if I have money, I'll be greedy. And you tap on that. And you tap on all of them separately. And what you do is you free yourself from all the limiting beliefs. Those are things that we believe are true that really aren't true, that we just think are true. You tap on all of those things, and then you're free to create. And it's much easier than it was when you tried to suppress or ignore all the stuff that was holding you back.
And that's so logical. You say the affirmation, and then yes, buts. Because I was thinking, how do you really know what it is that is subconscious, what it is that's underneath? When you started talking about this, I thought, I don't know what's really underneath, but how profound is that? You say the statement, I'm going to be making $200,000 in my business by the end of the year. Yes, but the industry has changed. Yes, but, and that's what you tap on.
That's what you tap on. Mm-hmm.
Whoa, that is simple and profound.
It is, and it's so empowering, Debra. It really is. I'm so excited to share this technique with people because I really believe everybody should learn EFT. It's just something that everybody can benefit in one way or another. And it doesn't mean they can't do other things like meditation or yoga or other success programs. It just enhances everything because it targets things in a way that other things don't. So, for example, I love yoga. If I'm upset about something, I can go to a yoga class and I'll feel better. Generally, my stress level will come down. But if I was really worried about one particular thing, that's just going to pop back up again because you're not targeting anything. You really can't target it with most stress reduction techniques. With EFT, that's the whole point of what we do, is we target that thing that's bothering you. So everybody has a couple of things that they really wish either had never happened in their lives, that they didn't do, that didn't happen to them. You can tap on those and literally take the sting out of them so that you don't have that pit in your stomach when you think about your junior prom or what the bully said to you in 5th grade. You can really get rid of those emotions so that you know those things still happened, but you just don't care. It's just not a problem anymore.
Okay, well, I have one more question before we have an experience of this. But one of the things that people struggle with is that they work really hard to create the life they want. They think that the more they work, if you're getting a certain return in 8 hours, maybe if I just work 10 hours, I'll get a greater return. And I'm seeing that like rampant. My friends are like killing themselves. They don't take rest. They don't take care of themselves. They, haven't had a vacation in a year or more. Is there any way that EFT can help this struggle that people have created in their lives?
There are ways that EFT can help, and let me just break that down a little bit. First of all, I like to make a distinction between working hard and struggling, because we've kind of, in this law of attraction era, decided that everything should be easy and we shouldn't have to work hard, and sometimes we have to. You're not going to get a college degree without working hard. You're not going to run a marathon without working hard. But there's a big difference between working hard and struggling. And I think when people are struggling, what's happening is they have to work much harder than they should have to for whatever it is they're doing. And they're trying to muscle their way through something. And it's usually because there's something going on underneath that is preventing them from doing that in an easy and effective way. Now, with EFT, we can help people get rid of that struggle. You don't have to work twice as hard to accomplish something that you could do easily. It might still be some work. If you have to go to college, you're going to have to study and do all that. But with EFT, you can tap so that your testing is easier. You can study more effectively. You don't have to get anxious for tests. In terms of people like you talked about who keep working harder, first of all, I would start with them for tapping and think about, why do you think you need to work so hard? Because often there's a reason that they feel they need to do that. I mean, some people work hard even for the same amount of money because they just have it in their mind that, well, I should work at least 40 hours for my salary, or maybe 50 or 60. Even if I streamlined things and did it effectively in 30 hours, that would not be right because I need to work really hard for this money that I'm making. So I would tap on why they think they need to work so hard. And then I would tap on things to make whatever they're struggling with easier, because usually if people are working that hard and they're crazed, there's all kinds of things going on. Like, I can't say no to people. I have to be the one who volunteers for everything. I have to do everything for everyone in my family. I need to earn this much money, and if I have to work 3 jobs to earn it, I have to do that. So there are a lot of tappable issues involved in work, struggle, and overwork and overwhelm. And I agree with you that there are so many people that find themselves in that position today, and it's kind of a vicious circle. The more they work, the harder they work. They don't get the things done they need to get done. They feel more stressed, and so they're not as effective when they're working, so they have to work harder and harder, and they're getting tireder and tireder. It's just a nightmare. And so that is something that tapping is really helpful and effective for.
Okay. Well, so many of the things that you've mentioned, I think that our listeners can relate to many, if not all, and you can have us go through an experience of this.
I would love to. So I described a little bit about how we actually do the process of EFT. So first, we're going to tap on something that's causing you stress right now. I want everybody listening, and you too, Debra, to think about something that's bothering you. And you don't have to think of it in terms of stress, but that's what I'm thinking of it as. If it was something like the snake, for example, think about the emotions that you feel when you look at a snake or think about a snake. If somebody's upset about their spouse, think about the feelings and emotions you have about that. You are going to rate the intensity of your feelings on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being no intensity, 10 being the most intense feeling that you can have. And it's really important to do that because we want to see what progress that we make when we do the tapping. On top of that, you're going to think about where you feel the stress in your body, because there are going to be times when we're tapping that I'm going to say, I feel this stress in my body, and I want you to zero in or even speak out loud where you're feeling it. For example, I always feel my stress in my chest. I have like a constriction in my chest, and so that's where I feel it. You might get a pit in your stomach or a breathless feeling. Whatever you feel, when you feel the intense feeling about this topic that we're going to tap on, tune into that when I say that. Now, we usually tap on 9 points when we do the basic recipe, they call it, for EFT tapping. But I'm going to simplify it and tap on only 4 because I think it's easier when you can't see and follow along to tap with me if there's only 4 points. So let me describe where those points are. The first point is the karate chop point on the side of the hand. This is where you would actually do a karate chop and sort of karate chop a board if you were doing that. And you're going to use 2 to 3 fingers, and you're going to tap on the side of the hand while we say the setup statement, and I'll explain that in a minute. And you just keep tapping as long as we're talking on the setup statement. It doesn't really matter how many times. It will be many times because we'll say a setup statement 3 times. So that's the first point. The second point is the inside of the eyebrow, and that's the point where the eyebrow starts near the bridge of the nose. You're going to tap with 2 fingers there, and you'll just tap 5 to 9 times while we're repeating the setup statement or the reminder phrases after the setup statement. The next point is the side of the eye. That's beside the eye socket on the bone there. And then the fourth point is the collarbone. The collarbone is located, if you go to your neck and you feel that U-shaped bone in your neck, go down a little bit and out, maybe an inch or 2, and there's 2 indentations on each side of your chest. Now you can either tap on one side, you can tap on both sides, or what I do is I use my whole hand and I tap on both points so that I get both points when I'm tapping on the collarbone point. Here are the 4 points again. The first point is the karate chop point. The second point is the inside of the eyebrow. The third point is the outside of the eyebrow. And the fourth point is the collarbone. Now, again, I want you to think about the stress you feel about something that you really would like to change in your life. It could be a feeling you want to get rid of. It could be something that you want to get rid of so that you can create that magnificent life that you've been dreaming of. Focus on that. Rate the intensity from 0 to 10. And then just start tapping along with me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat the statement, say it with emotion, the feeling that you have when you feel it. And Debra, you can either tap along and say the words after me. I'll leave a space between my statements. You can tap along after me, or you can mute, and everybody can tap along and say the same words out loud at home. Either way is fine. All right, we're going to start on the karate chop point. Even though I feel all this stress, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel this uncomfortable stress in my body, I accept myself and how I feel.
I accept myself and how I feel.
Even though this tension and stress sometimes feels overwhelming.
Even though this tension and stress sometimes feels overwhelming.
I'm ready to let these feelings go.
I'm ready to let these feelings go.
Okay, now we're going to move to the eyebrow point. All this stress.
All this stress.
Side of the eye. It feels overwhelming.
It feels overwhelming.
Collarbone. All these anxious thoughts.
All these anxious thoughts.
Eyebrow. Too much stress.
Too much stress.
Side of the eye. Thoughts racing in my mind.
Thoughts racing in my mind.
Collarbone. Causing all this tension in my body.
Causing all this tension in my body.
Eyebrow. This overwhelming stress.
This overwhelming stress.
Side of the eye. All these worries about this issue.
All these worries about this issue.
Collarbone. All this overwhelming stress.
All this overwhelming stress.
This uncomfortable stress in my body.
This uncomfortable stress in my body.
From all this stress about this issue.
From all this stress about this issue.
Stress makes it hard to enjoy my day.
Stress makes it hard to enjoy my day.
Eyebrow. I'm not at my best with all this stress.
I'm not at my best with all of this stress.
Side of the eye. It's taking a toll on me.
It's taking a toll on me.
Collarbone. What if I don't have to feel this way?
What if I don't have to feel this way?
Eyebrow. This remaining stress.
This remaining stress.
Side of the eye. All this remaining stress.
All this remaining stress.
Collarbone. What if I don't have to suffer this way?
What if I don't have to suffer this way?
Eyebrow. What if I can let some of this stress go?
What if I can let some of this stress go?
Side of the eye. All these racing thoughts.
All these racing thoughts.
Collarbone. This stress and anxiety.
This stress and anxiety.
Eyebrow. I'm going to let this stress go.
I'm going to let this stress go.
Side of the eye. I choose to release all this stress and anxiety.
I choose to release all this stress and anxiety.
Collarbone. It doesn't serve me anymore.
It doesn't serve me anymore.
Eyebrow. So I'm letting it go.
So I'm letting it go.
Side of the eye. It's safe to let it go.
It's safe to let it go.
Collarbone. I can feel centered and calm now.
I can feel centered and calm now.
Okay, now take a deep breath. Now that's just a very short example. We would probably go much deeper than that if we were working on a specific issue. But did you happen to notice anything, Debra?
I totally did. I almost started laughing because for just like a split second, I felt like a little, like tightness, like contraction. And then as it went on, it just like left. And it was funny because it's not an intellectual thing. It's like now if I try to conjure it up in my mind, I can hardly remember what I was so stressed about. It just like released. That's crazy.
Isn't that amazing? It really is amazing. I'm so happy that you had that experience. And one of the things when people tap, sometimes if they're tapping along with somebody, I might be saying words that don't exactly match your circumstance or somebody at home. And the founder of EFT found this unusual thing happened when he did these seminars around the country, that people would feel better when they would tap along. He would always have everybody in the audience tap along and repeat after him. And they felt better even if they didn't have the same problem. So we in EFT call that borrowing benefits now. And so we always say, listen, just tap along anyway. On some level, you have anxiety and stress or fear about something. and this is going to help you out. And it always does. It really does. So I'm so thankful. Thank you for verbalizing it out loud. I think that made a big difference as well, Debra.
Yeah, and I just feel overall, not even just about that issue, I feel like I just woke up, like some layer got lifted, like a veil from my eyes or something. I'm looking around the room, I'm like, wow, what just happened?
That's great. That's so wonderful.
I mean, seriously, and I know that everybody has a different experience, but that was amazing. Okay, so, well, tell me, because I'm always curious about what's possible for people, and can you take a few minutes and share some of the turnarounds that you've seen from people who have applied this?
I will. I use myself as one of the examples because I worked as a freelance health writer for many years, and the company that I was working for was shifting focus, and they were going to use another company for most of their freelance writing needs. And so I started tapping on that, and within a month, I had 2 contracting positions, essentially 2 full-time. One was long-term and one was short-term, so I was able to do them both for a short period of time. They just came out of the blue. I literally had thought, well, gee, now what am I going to do? And I started tapping on that, and those 2 jobs just appeared out of nowhere, literally. Then there was a woman who I was tapping with about her weight. She was under a lot of stress and had been gaining a lot of weight. She was up by 75 pounds, I think, by the time we were tapping. And she knew how to tap and had tapped on everything that she could think of to tap on and wasn't able to solve this weight issue. So we tapped on that together. I tapped with her about this feeling that she had about needing to know why she had gained the weight and why she couldn't put her mind to it. She said she was a very focused person, and when she makes her mind up, she does it, and she couldn't figure out why she wasn't doing this. And she really had tapped on this for so long. So we spent a lot of time tapping on, do you need to know? Can we just release the need to know? Whatever it is that's keeping you from losing weight, let's let that go. And we tried to tap on her not gaining any more weight. Let's just start with not gaining any more weight. So we had 2 sessions, and she emailed me a couple of weeks later, maybe a month later, and said she had lost 11 pounds. And I was amazed that she had lost 11 pounds. Well, a couple months later, I heard from her, and she had lost 38 pounds. And she said it was just those 2 tapping sessions that she and I had done that turned things around for her. And then if I have time, I have one last one that I really like because it shows how you tap on one thing and end up someplace else. Do we have time for one more?
Totally. Go for it.
So I was tapping with another client on clutter. So we were tapping on the clutter in her home and how stressed she was about that. And so then she started realizing that this was a deeper issue, that people weren't helping her the way that they should be helping around the house. And she felt she had lost her voice, like in her family. Nobody listened to her anymore. And she got so choked up during this was one session, that she couldn't even speak. And I had to keep tapping. This was via Skype. And she just followed along. She couldn't even get the words out because she was so choked up about not being able to get her words out. So this session went a little bit longer. And at the end of it, she looked 5 years younger, honestly, like this huge weight had been lifted from her shoulders. And the interesting thing that she had said to me was, you know, Betty, when we started tapping, I didn't even mention that I had this pain in my neck because I thought it was like the first sign of aging, and I was just going to have to get used to having some aches and pains. She said I was thinking I should call the doctor and maybe go to physical therapy because it had just been persistent for a couple of months. And so we didn't even tap on that. We tapped on the clutter and all these emotions that she had about her role in the family and the lack of respect and all of that, and her neck pain was gone. She said it was gone. She couldn't believe it.
Wow. Well, this is really extraordinary. I mean, weight, health, jobs, reclaiming your voice, your power. It's just the range of issues that tapping can turn around. It's pretty phenomenal. And I know that There is a lot more that we can learn from you about this, and I know that you created a special offer for everyone who's listening to the call. So first, I highly encourage everyone to go to Betty's special offer right now and experience it for yourself. Simply click on the special offer button that's on the web page. So Betty, can you let everyone know what they'll find there?
I'd be happy to. I have a special offer that I created for your show that's called Create Your Ideal Life Now. And simply put, this is a program that I really believe can bring out the very best in you. You know, we're going to get rid of the you that's hampered by painful memories, insurmountable obstacles, dreams that you don't think can come true. We're going to turn all that around and transform your life starting today with this program. So instead of ignoring the negative beliefs, fears, and other things holding you back, we're going to use tapping to acknowledge and release them. And we're going to let go of the hold that they have on your life. So you'll naturally start feeling better, you'll be more hopeful, and you'll have a more positive outlook. In turn, what will happen is you'll attract more positive people, circumstances, and events in your life. So how did I do that for you to achieve those things? I put together a 75-page PDF workbook that has easy-to-follow instructions, worksheets, and exercises. There are 35 MP3 audios with the program. That includes 30 tap-along audio sessions and their transcripts so that you can tap on some of the most common issues that might be a problem for you. The tapping scripts and the audios are a start, and they give you a place to insert your own words so that you can personalize the program for yourself. So in the workbook itself, there's easy to understand step-by-step instructions on how to tap, and then there's 3 different modules. We have Module 1 is Tap for Today, so that will be quick tapping techniques you can learn to just feel better the very day that you start the program. Module 2 is Make Peace with Your Past. This module will help you get rid of those painful messages, events, and circumstances from the past that still make you miserable today. And we're going to get rid of those. You'll feel a tremendous sense of relief and will literally turn your outlook on life around with that module. Then we have Module 3, which is Focus on Your Future. And in this module, you'll find out how to tap into your true potential. We're going to tap out the limiting beliefs and self-sabotaging habits that keep you stuck, and we're going to tap into the zone where things flow easily and effortlessly. We're going to tap on those affirmations, the tail enders and yes buts that we talked about in the program, so that you really can achieve the things that you want in your life in a much faster and easier way. Then I also have some bonuses. I have a Q&A call where it's an MP3 download where you can hear some of the commonly asked questions about EFT and find out answers so that this will help you do a better job with this program and help you be more successful. And then I have 2 additional tapping sessions that I've included. One is on feeling overwhelmed and alone. And the reason I included overwhelmed and alone is that most people who are feeling overwhelmed about something feel alone about their ability to handle that situation. It doesn't mean they are alone. They may be married. They may have a family. They may be at work and have coworkers. But when it comes to the thing that they're overwhelmed about, it feels like the weight of the world is on their shoulders. So I've done an extended EFT tapping session on that to help people who feel overwhelmed and alone. And then I did one fun one on magnifying the positive. In EFT, when people start out, they always worry about tapping on the negative and when are we going to get to the positive. The truth is you don't really have to tap on the positive because you're just going to feel that way when you tap and get rid of the negative. But this one is a fun tapping sequence that just helps you take where you are and feel better and better and better to magnify the positive emotions that you're experiencing when you tap on that one. So this program is essentially a comprehensive and systematic way to use EFT tapping to just transform your life.
Fantastic. You know, I think so many of us have heard about tapping, heard about EFT, and we've We know people have gotten great benefits, and your package, it just seems that you systematically take us through it, and then we'll be able to use it in our own lives.
That's absolutely the whole goal behind that program.
Well, thank you so much. So I have one more question. What are the biggest benefits that people can expect to experience starting right away and then over time by applying this program?
Well, the first thing that they'll experience is complete relief from stresses that have been bothering them from a long time from the day they start. So if you have a stress that's really bothering you, you can start tapping and you're going to feel immediate relief with respect to that particular problem. And if you tap long enough, you can actually get rid of it fully, but it depends on, how much time you can tap at that moment and how complex the issue is. But the thing that I want you to feel when you start this program is that how even a short session of tapping can really make you feel better, like it did for Debra today. That was a perfect example of how you can feel in a very, very short period of time. And then over time, you'll have a chance to address all the things that are holding you back or all the things that have bothered you in your life. And there's nothing I know that can help you do that the way that EFT can. So if you do have a situation where a bully hurt your feelings in grade school, or you had a breakup or a divorce that's still painful today, or anything that you've had that you really still struggle with today, that it just hurts, we can tap on that and help you get rid of that emotion so it just doesn't hurt you and hold you back anymore. So on the one hand, we can get rid of the things that are making you feel bad. And then on the other side, what we're going to do is we're going to help you reach for the stars. We're going to get rid of the things that are holding you back from being your best you, and so that you can be that person that you always wanted to be and create the life that you always wanted to create.
Thank you. Well, this has been extraordinary. I still feel like I just woke up. It's amazing. I thought, is this going to go away? And it hasn't. I'm very excited. And again, click on the special offer button that's on the web page. Any final thoughts you want to share with us before we say goodbye?
I do, Debra. If anyone is listening and they are feeling hurt or in pain, or they're just stuck trying to achieve things that haven't come their way yet, I just want to tell them that first, their situation isn't hopeless, and you're really not alone. I'm here to help you with this program, and I really think that when you start tapping, you're going to be amazed at the difference that it can make in your life. So I've been where you are, and I encourage you to try EFT tapping, which is what I did, and just watch the magic happen.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And hey, you know what? It could just make some small difference. It can make a huge difference. Why not try it? I'm going to. And I just want to say thank you so much, Betty. This has been amazing. I mean, just really amazing, truly. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Debra. I really appreciate your time today.
And thank you to everyone for spending this time with me and with Betty Russell. I look forward to when we're all together again. This is Debra Poneman. Have a wonderful rest of your day.